Alright, let's set the stage. Picture this. 4 heroes from modern-day Japan get summoned into a whole new world. Now, you might expect the one with the cool hair and handsome face right there. Check out the guy on the left to be the main character. But surprise, surprise, it's actually this guy who steals the spotlight. So, here's the deal. This stunning princess with gorgeous long blonde hair drops the bombshell that the 3 heroes were summoned by the king of Racier to take down the big bad demon king. The mage dude lurking beside the princess spills the beans about their insane abilities and stats, and guess what? They totally overlooked our main man at first. Typical. You see, the first 3 heroes are all magic powerhouses, with the first one being a holy sword user and the others being exceptional magic users. But our protagonist here, brace yourself, his special ability is, drumroll please, wait for it, online grocery. Yeah, you heard that right. What in the world is that gonna do in a fantasy realm, huh? We're about to find out, my friends. So, the 3 heroes were all set to meet the king, and you know our main man couldn't resist getting in on the action. Oh, and by the way, everyone, including the protagonist, knew that they were summoned from another world, just like those crazy isekai light novels we love. Here's where things get interesting. While they're all talking to the king, Mudoko starts feeling a tad suspicious about the whole situation. I mean, he's not feeling that hero vibe, you know. So, he politely excuses himself and straight up tells the king that he just wants to live a chill, simple life. After scoring a cool 20 gold coins from the king, cha-ching, Mukoda hits the streets like a boss to try and get some intel. Guess what though? The peeps on the street can't help but give him some serious side-eye. Can you blame them? If you time-traveled from the past, you'd be clueless about modern suits too. So, after doing some serious sleuthing, our main man Mukoda decides to hit up an inn for some well-deserved R&R. But then, out of the blue, he remembers this crazy skill of his. Like, what on earth could it possibly be? Right. Cue the epic moment. Status. Open. Boom. A fancy status screen pops up, showing all of Mukoda's info. But here's where things get wild. At the bottom of the screen, there's this option called Net Supermarket. Mukoda's like, might as well give it a shot. And, as soon as he selects it, an actual online supermarket website pops up right in front of him. Like, dude, it's just like how we do our online shopping in real life. Talk about convenience. Mukoda starts interacting with the website, placing orders, and even making payments. And you won't believe what happens next. Like magic, a box appears out of thin air, filled with the stuff he ordered. It's just a bottle of water and some bread. But I mean, that's a superpower that's actually useful. Let's keep it real. This skill is next level awesome and seriously convenient. Imagine having the power to order stuff online and have it appear right in front of you. No more waiting for delivery trucks or dealing with crowded stores. Mukoda's got it all figured out. Mukoda is keen on exploring this new world and sets off an exciting journey to the town of Keels. While on the stagecoach, Mukoda starts a friendly chat with a merchant sitting next to him. He casually mentions his plan to cross the border and explore the neighboring country. Oh, and here's the kicker. He finds out that his special ability is as rare as finding a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. Talk about being 1 in 1,000. Unfortunately, when he arrives at his destination, he learns that the stagecoach has stopped servicing customers. He speaks with some locals about the situation, and he learns they've stopped the service, so people can't flee to neighboring countries. A gentleman tells him if people fled, the army's size would decrease. Another one tells him that the Kingdom of Racier plans to wage war against other territories. With a spring in his step, Mukoda heads to the Adventurer's Guide, ready to put together the ultimate dream team for his adventure to the Femin Kingdom, as he doesn't want to travel alone for fear of being attacked by monsters. The guild cashier tells him it would take days to complete and will cost him 8 gold coins since the stagecoach is suspended. And you won't believe it, luck is on his side because he finds the perfect crew. Meet Werner from Iron Will, the coolest C-rank adventurer in town. Mukoda makes them an offer they can't resist. His incredible cooking skills for the whole journey. I mean, who could say no to that?
Yeah, boy.
Werner then introduces Mukoda to the squad. Vincent the swordsman, Rita the scout, Ramon the mage, and Franca the healer. It's a full-on Avengers Assemble moment, but with cooler outfits. During a chill moment, Mukoda puts his culinary skills to work. He whips out his magic stove straight out of the net supermarket and starts conjuring up some mouth-watering sandwiches and soup. The squad is shooketh by the flavors, and let's be real, even I'm drooling just thinking about that sandwich. It's another day in the heart of the forest. Mukoda and the Iron Will crew find themselves in an epic showdown with a monstrous red boar. It's like a boss battle straight out of a video game, and they emerge victorious, basking in their triumph. Mukoda, always the culinary genius, suggests stashing that red boar meat in his mystical item box, ready to work some culinary magic for dinner. Before we delve into the deliciousness, let's first talk about the recipe, shall we? Mukoda's got his game face on as he whips out the bacon, sizzling it up in a pan like a pro. Then come the veggies. Cabbage, carrots, and potatoes he snagged on a killer discount. And let's not forget the star of the show, sausages galore. It's like a flavor explosion waiting to happen. And voila! Pot au feu is served, and mouths start watering faster than you can say yum. Little did they know, Mukoda's food is more than just a tasty treat. It's a power-up in disguise. The Iron Will crew starts feeling a surge of energy coursing through their veins. It's like they've been granted superhuman abilities, all thanks to Mukoda's secret cooking prowess. But let's keep that under wraps, shall we? They chow down, and are oblivious to the danger lurking nearby. A large beast with glowing eyes silently watches them, as another day draws slowly to a close. Werner, the master of camping, decides it's time to pitch a tent for the night. And guess who's on dinner duty once again? You got it. Mukoda, the culinary hero of the hour. With that juicy red boar meat, he whips up another mind-blowing feast that has the crew's taste buds doing a happy dance. But hold up, there's a twist. Out of nowhere, the legendary and feared Fenrir makes his grand entrance. This mythical creature wants a taste of Mukoda's divine cooking. And let me tell you, this scene is really hilarious. Mukoda cooking up a storm, while Fenrir can't stop gushing about the delectable dishes. Bite after bite, Fenrir's hunger knows no bounds. Mukoda's culinary skills have won over even the fiercest beast in the land. And guess what? Fenrir, the legendary and fearsome beast, is absolutely blown away by Mukoda's culinary skills. He's so impressed that he proposes a deal with Mukoda. I mean, who saw that coming? Mukoda, with a mix of skepticism and intrigue, reluctantly agrees to the contract and gives Fenrir the name Fel. From that point on, Mukoda isn't just a chef anymore. He's become Fenrir's very own food guru. A special bond is forged, and their culinary adventures are about to reach a whole new level of epicness. In the last episode, we were treated to a delightful feast thanks to Mukoda's culinary skills. Plus, there was this whole deal with Mukoda signing a buddy contract with Fenrir, a creature so legendary it probably has its own fan club. Now, the big question is, what's cooking today? Well, I'm as thrilled as a hungry squirrel in a peanut factory to find out. Now that Fenrir is Mukoda's BFF, best furry friend, Mukoda needs to give the beast a name. After a few name ideas get chewed up and spit out, Mukoda finally settles on Fel, which actually suits Fenrir surprisingly well. Fast forward to the next day, and Mukoda's kitchen mission hits a snag when he realizes there's not much red boar meat left. But here's where it gets very laugh-worthy. Mukoda casually asks Fel, this fierce Fenrir, to go fetch some meat. Yet you'd heard that Right the Big Bad Wolf is now Mukoda's meat-fetching buddy. Everyone's jaws hit the floor, because I mean, who would have thought? Fel is a Fenrir, and folks in this world usually run in the opposite direction when they see one. Talk about a brave chef. Fenrir, or should I say Fel, returns in the blink of an eye with a colossal rockbird, a B-rank monster. I feel like he's faster than a fast food delivery.
Oh, get the corn.
Then, Mukoda works his culinary magic and whips up a rockbird teriyaki with onion soup for the Iron Will party and Fel. I don't know about you, but this dish looks so good that even my screen is drooling. Lol. Oh, by the way, did I mention this is Mappa's first dive into the isekai anime world? Combined with their cozy art style, it's like they're serving us a buffet of mouth-watering visuals and culinary ASMR delights. Anyway, after that mouth-watering teriyaki adventure, they continue their epic journey. Remember when I mentioned that in this world people scatter like spilled marbles when they see a Fenrir? Well, I wasn't kidding. I mean, just check out how folks are dodging them. Finally, the gang arrives at the border of the Feenan Kingdom. But what do they find? A whole battalion of soldiers on high alert, all because of Fenrir's grand entrance. One soldier steps up to Mukoda and asks if he's inked a deal with Fenrir. He warns that Fenrir packs enough punch to turn a whole country into crumbs. And that's no fairy tale, my friends. It's a historical fact, at least in this world. But then Fel in all his furry glory chimes in and basically says, "You leave us be, we leave you be." It's like a beastly peace treaty. Mukoda adds his 2 cents, threatening to withhold food if Fel decides to go on a rampage. And that right there is their unbreakable bond. Food is the magical key to taming this wild creature. And just like that, everyone's inside the kingdom. But here comes the next snag. Mukoda's wallet is feeling lighter than a feather as he foots the bill for their entry into the kingdom and its bustling cities. Luckily, Mukoda's not planning to hang around here for ages. Nope, he's got bigger dreams, jet-setting to different places and raking in cash with his net supermarket mojo. Honestly, I think Mukoda is quickly making his way to the top of my favorite characters list. I mean, kudos to him for not falling for that hero gig from episode 1. Speaking of which, shame on the king for letting Mukoda slip through his fingers. Just think about it. He could have been the most overpowered king in history if he'd hung on to Mukoda right. He could order anything from the modern world, and everything modern humanity has come up with would certainly be worth a fortune in their era. While strolling, Mukoda gets ambushed by Marquess Rindle's servant. The servant puts on a friendly face and invites Mukoda to the Marquess's mansion, but let's be real, they're just looking to harness Fenrir's colossal power. After Fel gives him a little scare, the servant takes off like a rocket, and while everyone's still gossiping about Fel's jaw-dropping abilities, he spills the beans. The only critter that can give him a real run for his kibble is an ancient dragon, and they have already had a legendary smackdown 400 years ago. Well, after that, the Iron Will party and Fel decided to part ways because they don't share the same goals. I must admit, I'm feeling a bit blue about Mukoda splitting from Iron Will, but hey, they're pretty prominent in the opening credits, so I'm guessing we'll be seeing more of them this season. And remember back in episode 1 when Mukoda decided to use his online grocery skill to make a buck or two? He's all about selling goods from modern Japan to rake in that dough. To really get those sweet merchant perks, Mukoda decides to throw in with the Merchants Guild. It's this big continent-spanning organization, and the merchants are ranked into 5 levels. He also throws his hat in the ring with the Adventurers Guild. Why? Well, that's where you go when you got a furry friend like Fel that brings you goodies from the hunting grounds. These guilds might be a big deal in Mukoda's newfound life. To keep his Adventurers Guild membership active, he's got to tackle missions every month. His first mission is gathering some medicinal herbs. Not only could this keep his guild status intact, but it might also level up his cooking game with some new ingredients. And let me tell you, the Adventurers Guild is a real hoot compared to the Merchants Guild. That lady at the counter is definitely clocked out mentally. Although, to be fair, the Adventurers Guild receptionist in the previous town wasn't exactly a bundle of sunshine either. Maybe it's because Mukoda was a client and not applying as an adventurer at that time. After sorting out guild business, Mukoda checks into an inn with Fel, who promptly reminds him that they skipped lunch. Good thing they've still got some of that rockbird meat left, which Mukoda plans to cook up. Now, it's time for the main event, the cooking extravaganza. Gordon Ramsay, you can take a seat. Mukoda's got this. He's craving rice, and thank the heavens for Mukoda's online shopping skills. You wouldn't believe how many isekai anime heroes have to jump through hoops just to get their hands on some rice. All Mukoda has to do is a bit of online clicking, and he's got rice ready to cook, complete with a rice cooker. If that were me, I'd probably order every cake in the universe. But Mukoda's got a different plan. He's cooking up some steak. A rare one for Fel and a medium one for himself. The secret ingredient: a soy sauce with all sorts of flavors, plus garlic, onion and more. It's downright mouth-wateringly delicious, and I'm over here drooling, wishing I could whip up something half as tasty right now. Fel scarfs down his food like a ravenous monster, and I'm willing to bet he savored every bite. Well, it's time for Mukoda to chow down on some rice and fried meat, and you know what? It seems like Fel wanted in on the feast too, because he was eyeing Mukoda's meal like it was the last steak in the universe, and in just a blink he polished it all off, rice and steak included. That's a Fenrir-sized appetite for you. After this food frenzy, it's finally time to hit the hay, and Mukoda reminds us that it feels like forever since he's slept in a proper bed. The next morning, he heads over to the Merchants Guild to sell some extra goodies he has laying around, specifically salt and pepper. You know, it's quite the surprise. After watching episode 1, I had this feeling Mukoda was about to venture into the soap business. But lo and behold, he goes with something rather different: salt and pepper. It actually makes a lot more sense. As it turns out, Mukoda's packing the good stuff, the crème de la crème of salt and pepper, the kind that could even grace a king's table. And guess what? The merchant he encounters practically showers him with money, giving him a whopping 17 gold coins in exchange for the mere 5 copper coins he spent to purchase it online. Now, that's what you call a deal that's so good it's practically shouting Estionkes. Now, I can't help but think, if Mukoda keeps this up, he might single-handedly wreck this world's economy. His supermarket power is like a magic wallet with an endless supply of cash. He could buy up all the metal deposits in the world, and the locals would just be scratching their heads, wondering where all their money went. Then it's dinner time once more, and they're savoring that same delicious steak. Mukoda cooks it up for Fel, and while doing so, he uses his appraisal skill on him. Surprise, surprise, Fel gets some incredibly high scores. Even though Fel's a powerful monster and all, Mukoda still sees him as a bit of a glutton, and with that, another enjoyable episode comes to a close. Earlier, we witnessed Mukoda's extraordinary summoning into a world brimming with magic and swordplay. Now you might think he's there to join in the epic battles and cast grand spells, but nope, because Mukoda is not your typical sword-swinging hero. Instead, he's got a skill that's so ridiculously convenient it might just make you jealous. Are you ready for this? His special skill is none other than online grocery.
What?
I can hear you asking, what kind of skill is that? But trust me, if I were in his shoes, I'd be thanking my lucky stars for this super convenient ability. Imagine ordering all your favorite groceries online in a world filled with adventures and magic. In the last episode, he joined a group of adventurers with the aim of crossing the kingdom's boundaries. That's where he made a rather unexpected acquaintance, Fel, a Fenrir, a massive wolf-like creature. The beast had been stealthily watching their every move, and once it caught a whiff of the mouth-watering feast Mukoda was cooking up, it just couldn't resist revealing itself in front of the entire party of adventurers. You see, Fenrir had an insatiable appetite for delicious food, and so he turned to Mukoda and made a rather peculiar request. He asked Mukoda to cook for him, and once he tasted the food, it was like a culinary love story come to life. Fenrir was head over paws for Mukoda's cooking. In fact, he loved it so much that he struck a deal with Mukoda. The terms: Mukoda would become Fenrir's personal chef, providing him with scrumptious meals every single day in exchange for protection. You could say it was a foodie's dream come true, and Fenrir wasn't taking no for an answer. The rest of the explorer gang was utterly flabbergasted, but secretly delighted by this unexpected twist. Now here we are, stepping into the heart of today's episode. Mukoda, fresh as a daisy after officially donning the title of Adventurer's Guild member, is embarking on his very first mission, which is herb collection. As Mukoda diligently goes about his green task, his trusty companion Fell transforms into a full-blown predator, scouring the wilderness for a meaty treat to satisfy his carnivorous cravings. But Fell was a bit worried because there's a lot of pesky monsters lurking. I mean, we wouldn't want our hero to become a monster's midnight snack, would we? So Fell steps up to the plate and whips out a nifty skill named Sora, effectively creating a magical barrier that ensures Mukoda's safety. With that security in place, Mukoda unleashes his appraisal skill, carefully identifying herbs and checking off his mission with the grace of a seasoned pro. And he does it without even breaking a sweat. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, lunchtime. Even though it might be a tad early for lunch, Mukoda decides to take the modern route. He orders ingredients from the Net supermarket to whip up a lip-smacking batch of spaghetti. Just looking at those ingredients is enough to get anyone excited, and to make things even better, Fell returns with a freshly caught rock bird. It seems that teriyaki from the previous episode won Fell's culinary heart, and now he's eager for more. Fell even mentions other prey he's caught that's been left at the forest's edge, adding to the culinary intrigue. Mukoda slices up the onions, tosses the pasta in boiling water, and brings all the ingredients together. And there you have it, a piping hot plate of spaghetti. It's a work of culinary art, smooth and oh so mouth-watering. Even with a bit of a meat shortage, it's enough to make Fell's tail wag with sheer excitement. And let's not forget the cheese. That's the secret weapon to elevate the spaghetti to another level. Honestly, watching this anime, you'd think it's a full-on cooking tutorial. If you've ever been clueless in the kitchen, Mukoda can be your new cooking sensei. And you know what? Mukoda may not have all the answers about how to get back to his world, but at least he can savor the familiar flavors he knows and loves. And when I saw that tasty pasta, it made me really want some spaghetti. Can you blame me for feeling that way? It looked absolutely mouth-watering, and I bet my stash of ramen noodles that you're craving some too. My belly! Here comes a truly jaw-dropping moment for Mukoda. He's hit with an absolute mountain of meat, thanks to Fell's impressive hunting spree. I mean, we're talking a mountain of mouth-watering monster meat here. But oh boy, Mukoda can't help but worry about one thing. Are orcs actually edible? We've all seen how orcs are portrayed in modern media, and it's not exactly in a gourmet light.
That's nasty.
Mukoda swiftly stashes all the monster meat into his handy-dandy item box and heads off to the Adventurer's Guild for delivery. And guess what? Fell decides to let Mukoda hop on his back for a wild ride. Mukoda goes from thrilled to near blurred face mode due to the breakneck speed of this mad dash. Finally, they arrive at the Adventurer's Guild. The secretary girl at the guild is clearly impressed by Mukoda's ability to gather so many herbs, even as a G-rank newbie. She might just be Mukoda's potential love interest, but when she lays eyes on Fell, she does a complete 180 and there's some serious blushing going on. It's like she's fallen head over heels for her furry friend. Our hero Mukoda asks where he can butcher the meat since there's a ton to handle. He decides to bring all the monsters to the back of the guild, and his plan is to keep the meat for cooking meals for Fel and sell off the remaining monster parts to the guild. He pops the question to the butchers, wondering if he can snag some meat for dinner, and wouldn't you know it, both Fel and the butcher recommend trying orc meat. Mukoda manages to secure a small amount of orc meat for tonight's dinner while the butcher gets to work on processing the rest of the monster bounty. Just looking at the meat, it doesn't seem too shabby, sort of like pork. And here we are again at our favorite part, cooking time. So what's on the menu today? Mukoda is whipping up a pork piccata dish. Now pay close attention because here are the ingredients: cheese powder, parsley, eggs and some flour. First things first, slice that meat thinly. Then, add a sprinkle of salt and pepper. Beat the eggs and give the meat a light flour coating before dipping it in the egg. Cook it up to golden perfection.
Delicious.
And voila, dinner is served, thanks to Mukoda, making it all look incredibly easy. Plus, there's still some leftover meat sauce from that mouth-watering spaghetti earlier, so they drizzle it on top. It looks incredibly delicious. In fact, it's so good that I started shouting, "Yue!" Fel takes a bite, and we all know how much of a glutton he is. He loves it. Just when Mukoda is about to dig in, Fel reminds him that orc meat is even better than red boar. Mukoda is still a bit wary of orc meat, but with one bite in, he's now convinced that he's savoring premium pork. It's a classic case of don't judge a book by its cover, but in this case, it's a food version. Don't turn up your nose at a dish until you've tasted it. Fast forward to the next day, and Mukoda heads back to the butcher to collect his bounty. And boy, is it a haul, just look at all that meat. Mukoda ends up raking in 202 gold coins for his items, but he's utterly clueless about the market value of these goods. Thankfully, the butcher plays the role of educator, explaining the worth of the various items. Orc testicles are prized for stamina and health. Red boar skin can be transformed into leather, and tusks have their crafting uses. To top it off, the butcher even tosses in some magic stones from a rank and higher monsters. And you know what? I really appreciate how the butcher is portrayed here. In many other series, characters like him would be portrayed as unscrupulous individuals looking to take advantage of a clueless MC or rob them blind. But this butcher is genuinely kind and goes out of his way to explain the basics to Mukoda. It's a nice change of pace.
Thank you, kind sir.
Anyway, Mukoda realizes that being a nomad is the way to go. He learns that if he introduces Fel as a great white wolf, then they can avoid curious stares. On the journey, they take a spontaneous pit stop for dinner, and trust me, it's a real carnivore's delight. Thanks to Fel's monster hunting skills, Mukoda's got the gold to go big on this meal. He orders a mountain of meat online, but that's just the appetizer because Mukoda's donning the chef's hat and things are about to sizzle. In a delightful twist meatier than a juicy steak, Mukoda unveils a seemingly modest Japanese black Wagyu steak. But here's the kicker. This small piece of meat costs a whopping 2 shiny silver coins. This isn't your ordinary meat though. It's beef from the modern world. I really feel that in this fantasy realm, they don't dine on cows, which is why Fel's response to this revelation is absolutely priceless. He's utterly flabbergasted to learn that we raise cows here for meat. You see, in their world, they rely on hunting monsters for their carnivorous cravings, so the concept of cows is a delightful novelty for Fel. With Mukoda's culinary masterpiece before them, both Mukoda and Fel savor every bite, and what's even more astonishing is that Fel's convinced that every mouthful of Mukoda's cooking makes him feel stronger. He dreams of taking on the ancient dragon as if it's a mere appetizer. And just to drive home the point, Mukoda uses his appraisal skill on Fel, and let's just say the stats are pretty darn impressive, almost off the charts. Now after their carnivore's feast, Fel isn't one to just sit around idly. Nope, he's got the itch for adventure, so he puts his sore skill to good use and goes on a monster hunting spree while Mukoda gets all cozy in his makeshift bed. While Mukoda's off in dreamland, Fel's out there in the wild slaying monsters with style. Morning comes and Fel returns with an even grander haul of powerful monsters. Even a chimera falls victim to Fel's prowess. This time, it's a meat mountain and it's quite the feat. Mukoda realizes it's time to cut back on the Japanese black Wagyu beef for Fel. After all, even a wolf's gotta watch their waistline on this meaty journey. As Fel and Mukoda sit down for dinner, they start chatting about Fel's exciting adventures, where he kicks monster butt using his clothes and even magic tricks. Mukoda's eyes light up with envy and he wishes he could do magic too. Surprise, surprise! Fel spills the beans that Mukoda can indeed use magic. Anyone can. As long as they have mana, excitement kicks in as Mukoda checks his stats and discovers a bit of mana magic hiding in there. Fel gives Mukoda the lowdown. If he wants to work some magic mojo, he's got to speak it into existence. Unfortunately, Mukoda's initial attempt at casting a fireball is a total flop. Seeing his buddy struggle, Fel decides to lend a magical hand there, paw, helping Mukoda feel the flow of magic in his veins. Then Fel gets a fantastic idea. He thinks Mukoda needs some real-life action, so he throws him into the magical fighting ring with a bunch of goblins. Talk about trial by fire! Mukoda tries to run, but Fel, being the prankster he is, startles the goblins, leaving Mukoda no choice but to face them head-on. It's like a crash course in magical combat. At first, Mukoda's like, "Nope, I'm out of here." But he eventually pulls himself together and manages to give those goblins a little taste of his magical might. And might I say, he lets off some pretty powerful explosions. Our Mukoda is an action hero in the making. Unfortunately, our hero's mana takes a bit of a beating and he promptly takes an impromptu nap, leaving Fel to clean up the goblin mess. After he awakens under the starry night sky, Fel and Mukoda start to have a bit of a squabble about Fel throwing him into the deep end with those goblins. But after Fel drops the bombshell that Mukoda has leveled up, there's an instant mood lift. In a generous gesture, Fel hands over the lifeless body of a goblin king as a reward, complete with a magical stone as a bonus. Turns out, Fel's got this nifty skill of spotting monsters with magic bling thanks to his high-level status. And with magic stones in the mix, things are getting interesting. In exchange, Fel puts in an order for a home-cooked meal, but Mukoda realizes he's running on empty in the mana department, making cooking a drag. So what does our clever hero do? He whips out the online grocery app, opting for a hassle-free solution by ordering some delectable pastries in all shapes, sizes and flavors and extra buttery melon bread for the both of them. Because let's be honest, who wants to deal with cooking when there's been magical fights and munchies at play? At first, Fel's not too sure about diving into the world of sweets, but eventually he gives in and takes a liking to them. Now he's hooked and asks Mukoda for more, but Mukoda, being the responsible one, cautions him about the perils of overindulging in sugary delights. According to Mukoda, too many sweets might just land Fel in the land of tummy troubles, diabetes, and even tooth decay. In response, Fel confidently credits his allegiance to the wind goddess, Ninrir, as his secret weapon against the sweet-induced chaos. According to him, Ninrir's got his back, and her blessing shields him from the evils of poison, diseases, and all things wonky. Fel spills the beans on his wind powers, but it's Ninrir who helps him fine-tune those skills into something truly spectacular. In a hilarious turn of events, Mukoda insists that he's the one in dire need of a blessing. His reasoning? Well, according to him, Fel's already a powerhouse and doesn't need any divine intervention. So there's Mukoda, belting out pleas for a goddess's blessing at the top of his lungs, while the goddess herself watches the spectacle from a water well, wearing a smirk that says it all. As the dynamic duo stumble upon a city, things take a hilarious turn because of Fel's ferocious vibes. They unintentionally create a bit of a ruckus, catching the attention of everyone around. To make matters extra interesting, the city guards mistake Fel for a mere great wolf, not recognizing his true Fenrir status. To which Fel takes offense because, let's face it, a Fenrir is 10 times mightier than your average great wolf, while Mukoda, trying to keep things low-key, decides to let it slide and avoid unnecessary attention. After all, a Fenrir is quite the spectacle and a bit intimidating. However, Fel is having none of it. Using their telepathic communication ability earned through the bond of being familiar and master, Fel communicates with Mukoda, vehemently opposing the idea of going incognito. Luckily, in the end, their unique connection helps them breeze past the guards. But here's the catch. The guard gives Mukoda a stern warning, laying down the law. No hurting folks or swiping stuff, or Mukoda's in for a heap of trouble. Anything his wolf gets caught up in, the city will hold Mukoda responsible for. And so the adventure continues, filled with sweets, spooky vibes, and a dash of caution in the bustling cityscape. Mukoda drops off Fel at Elmira Inn with a mission to find a shop selling maps. In his quest, he stumbles upon a magical intro book, thinking it's a gem. Excitement turns to a slight shock as the cashier tags it as pricey due to being made from one of the rarest commodities, paper. Mapeless and a bit disheartened, Mukoda returns to Fel and decides to turn things around by ordering up some tasty grilled bird and pork cutlet. As per usual, Fel is super impressed with the food. No surprise there. I mean, who wouldn't be? The double sauce action makes it as delicious as late-night ramen is for a starving college student. But wait, there's more. Mukoda takes it up a notch by throwing in some rice soaked in that yummy sauce. And guess what? Fel is all in for rice too. It's a flavor explosion that's hard to resist. Even my belly is grumbling and mouth-watering at the sight of their enjoyment. The next day dawns and Mukoda stumbles upon a bustling tavern. In a genius move, he befriends some experienced adventurers by lubricating the social wheels with a round of drinks. Mukoda spills the tea about his not-so-great kingdom of Riesiger, where the king has a knack for war and expansion. As tales of dungeons and rival kingdoms flow, Mukoda brings up his elusive map quest. One generous adventurer, probably fueled by the drinks, offers a map for a gold coin. Mukoda, thinking he struck gold, gladly accepts it. But little did he know, as the adventurers bid him adieu, what the harsh truth was, and as laughter echoes through the tavern, he slowly wises up. He could have snagged a similar map for just a humble silver coin at any adventurer's guild. Oops, Fel and Mukoda, feeling clueless about the laughter echoing behind them, forge ahead with their plan to head east. They have no idea that a mischievous blue slime creature is keeping a watchful eye on their every move during their unsuspecting meal. While all this is happening, there's this goddess peeking at Fel and Mukoda from somewhere up there. I don't have all the dates on her, but it looks like she's the one who turbocharges Fel's superpowers. As they speed along on their journey to the east, our friends take a pit stop by a cool lake to try their luck with fishing. Now, Fel pulls off a slick move. He zaps the lake with a bit of electricity to make the fish practically jump into Mukoda's lap. Talk about a shockingly smart fishing strategy. With their catch secured, Mukoda whips up a delicious feast, turning those fish into a mouth-watering meal. And don't think Fel's just lounging around. Oh no, he's in the woods, gathering up some firewood to make sure they got the flames roaring for a perfect lakeside cooking experience. And hold on to your recipe notebooks, because what's cooking is seriously delicious, and I'm about to spill the beans for you to jot down. Mukoda's in charge, and he's ordered a culinary arsenal of salt, pepper, wheat flour, mushrooms, and butter. Meanwhile, Fel's peeking over Mukoda's shoulder, practically begging for some meat, but Mukoda shuts that down with a firm no, no, no. That's not gonna happen. Mukoda kicks off the culinary adventure by slicing up the fish and giving it a thorough salt scrub before tossing it onto the grill. Now, the real spectacle begins as he tackles the big fish. Despite claiming it's his first time skinning a fish, Mukoda handles it like a seasoned pro, skillfully filleting it and laying out its organs and head with impressive finesse. Now, pay attention to the foil magic. Mukoda spreads melted butter and sliced onions on it, places the grilled fish, sprinkles some salt and pepper, adds mushrooms, a dash of sake, and a bit more butter. The foil packet is carefully folded and set near the crackling fire. But wait, there's more. Mukoda whips out the Munier move. After draining excess water from the fish, he dusts it with flour, fries it up, and crowns it with some tantalizing tartar sauce. Voila! The menu is served, and it's making my taste buds do a happy dance. And my belly scream like fat bastard in Austin Powers. I don't know about you, but all this talk of food has me itching to grab a fishing rod and head out camping by the lake, just like Mukoda, who pairs it all with a can of beer for the ultimate outdoor feast. After their meal, Mukoda accidentally steps on the slime we saw earlier that had been watching them. Mukoda starts wondering if the mini monster had snuck into their living space before Fel put up the protective barrier. However, Fel reassures Mukoda that there's no need to fret because most slimes are harmless and downright feeble. Mukoda's curiosity got the best of him as he greeted the slime monster, and to his surprise, he found it super cuddly and cute. Naturally, he decided to check out its status and was surprised to see that it was just a baby. Things take a twist when the slime turns into a bit of a glutton, gobbling up everything in sight. This left Mukoda a tad worried, but Fel in his typical easygoing manner chimed in with some casual info. Slimes are like culinary chameleons, capable of munching on whatever, be it pebbles or meat. Despite the initial concern, Mukoda sees a bright side of the slime monster, thinking the slime could be pretty handy for taking out their trash. Finally, he found the perfect recycling for all his plastic waste. After a bit of fun and games, Fel dropped a bombshell that the slime is now officially Mukoda's familiar. In a moment of playful inspiration, Mukoda decided to give the slime a name, and that's how Sui came to be. The following day, Mukoda decides to give a new spell called Stone Bullet a shot, but alas, it doesn't quite pan out as he hoped. Failure strikes. Fel suggests going back to monster fighting for practice, but Mukoda is all about a safer alternative. Taking a breather, he hangs out next to Sui, and lo and behold, he notices that Sui has bulked up and gotten stronger. Mukoda can't help but wonder if the munchies from his world are boosting Sui's stats. In the midst of this, Fel throws down the order for a meal, and Mukoda takes on the role of chef again, whipping up a feast for Fel, Sui, and himself. The trio savors the meal, and Mukoda realizes he's slowly but surely getting used to the local cuisine. Post-feast, Mukoda does a quick check on Sui's stats, only to find out that the food made Sui briefly stronger, but didn't quite level him up. Mukoda finds joy in the fact that Sui lends a helping pseudopod in the dish cleaning department. With the satisfaction of a clean kitchen, he decides to whip up some dessert and green tea for Fel, Sui, and himself. The sweet treats become a delightful end to their day. Come morning, Fel reveals that the wind goddess Ninrir gave him a revelation. According to Fel, Ninrir is eager to shower her blessings on Mukoda, but there's a catch. Mukoda needs to offer her sweets from another world at an altar every week. Fel clarifies that Mukoda won't be getting the exact same blessing he received. Instead, Mukoda is in line for Ninmir's modest blessing, a nifty gift that can neutralize any abnormal status that isn't deadly enough to knock Mukoda out. and as a bonus, his magic activation ability is in for an upgrade. Mukoda agrees but wants the lowdown on how to pray and where to find an altar. Fel's got a laid-back approach, saying anything from a tree to a pebble can serve as an altar, but Mukoda needs to keep it real and be honest while at it. Fel spills the beans on what kind of sweets Ninrir is into, and Mukoda, armed with this info, sets up a makeshift altar on a rock. Lo and behold, Ninrir's blessing comes through, and we get a sneak peek at her savoring and succumbing to all the treats Mukoda offered. A bit later, Mukoda is back to practicing his stone-bending skills. His skills have improved, but his mana drains quickly, leaving him dizzy and lightheaded. What's the solution? Sweets, of course. A large chocolate bar, to be precise. Fel returns from his own adventures and, in classic Fel fashion, demands Mukoda share the sweets. While Fel happily munches away, Ninrir decides to have a little telepathic chit-chat with Mukoda. She's got a hankering for dorayaki, red bean paste pies, for those of you who don't know what they are, and also more otherworldly sweets, even though she's already received her promised weekly sweet feast. With the prayers and sweets sorted, the trio, Fel, Mukoda, and Sui, embark on their journey eastward. Fel quizzes Mukoda about stone bullet progress, and Mukoda's all hopeful and filled with positive vibes. Fel contemplates taking Mukoda to a special spot for some technique of turbocharging. Later on, we catch a glimpse of Ninrir sneakily spying on Mukoda, Fel, and Sui during their mealtime. The next day rolls in, and Fel takes Mukoda on a field trip to a dungeon for some earth magic training. Fel makes a deal and pledges to cover Mukoda in a shield of protection, but swears not to meddle in his training. Before stepping into the dungeon, Mukoda makes a pit stop at the online grocery to conjure up a grand meal for himself and the others. Excitedly, he informs Fel that this magical grub from another world will give him a status boost. After devouring the meal with extra dessert, Mukoda eagerly checks his stats, and lo and behold, they've shot up by a whopping 20%. Now, armed with a belly full of enchanted eats, he's ready to tackle whatever the dungeon throws at him. Mukoda, Sui, and Fel dive into the dungeon once Fel has placed his protective magic over them. Things get wild when they encounter another slime, and surprise, Sui swoops in and melts it away with his acid attack. Mukoda gets into the action too, taking down some slimes with his trusty stone bullet spell. But hold on to your hats, because Fel drops a bombshell. Anything that bites the dust in this dungeon becomes its meal deal, turning into nutrients. Cue a worried look from Mukoda as he contemplates the dungeon's bizarre yet economical recycling system. As they head lower into the depths of the dungeon, the gang bumps into some kobolds, which are werewolf-like creatures. Initially scared out of his wits, Mukoda gathers his courage and zaps them away with stone bullet attack. Fel throws a bit of a reality check at Mukoda, cautioning him not to let his head swell just because he can shoot a few pebbles from his hand. As they hit the dungeon's final floor, Mukoda starts sweating bullets at the prospect of facing more than 10 kobolds. But fear not, Fel steps in to ease Mukoda's worries, assuring him that the protective barrier and Sui have got his back. To his surprise, instead of 10 kobolds, there are hundreds. The showdown begins as Sui and Mukoda tag team against the kobolds, each flexing their magical muscles. While Sui stands tall with no fear in his gooey heart, Mukoda is a bundle of nerves, terrified for his life, almost calling for his mama. Miraculously, they manage to defeat them all, sending the last 2 kobolds scrambling in retreat. Just when the victory cheers start to echo, a plot twist unfolds. Out of nowhere, the 2 fleeing kobolds find themselves forcefully tossed aside, and in steps the Kobold King, ready to throw down the gauntlet and challenge Mukoda and Sui to an epic showdown. Frantic to escape, Mukoda fires off stone bullets, while Fel urgently warns him about the Kobold King's potential to break through the protective barrier. Just as things seem dire and Mukoda fatefully runs out of mana, Sui swoops in with a massive acid attack that takes down the Kobold King. Sui for the win. Our slimy friend is a spectacular contender. The next thing Mukoda knows, he's waking up outside the dungeon, safe and sound. To Mukoda's surprise, Sui greets him with words, claiming that defeating the Kobold King granted him the power of speech. Excited by this newfound revelation, Mukoda checks Sui's stats and learns that Sui has evolved beyond being a baby slime, reaching an impressive level 7. And isn't Sui just the cutest when he talks? Our slime is not just a recycle station, it's the cutest little acid-spitting warrior slime to exist. Now, shifting gears to Mukoda, he's not one to get left in the dust. After some self-exploration, he unveils the exciting news that he too has reached level 7 and become a master of earth magic. Hold on to your hats, because Fel makes a grand entrance after a quick hunting trip. Guy was basically on a mission to satisfy his growling stomach. While Mukoda was however, Mukoda has a lightbulb moment when he catches on to Fel's little white lie about the breakable barrier. Turns out, Fel's white lie was all part of a sneaky plan, a crafty scheme to ignite a spark under Mukoda, pushing him to become the ultimate earth magic maestro he is now. In a ripple effect of gratitude, Mukoda decides to repay the favor by whipping up a feast fit for champions. Feeling drained from all the magic battles, Mukoda decides to take it easy and orders up a nourishing meal. He's in the mood for something hearty, so he goes for eggs, a splash of dashi sauce, and some rice. Our super chef starts by finely slicing the onions and then delicately carving the rockbird into bite-sized pieces. Next up, he whips the eggs into a fluffy mixture and adds the dashi soy sauce, mirin, and sugar to a hot pan, turning up the heat to bring it all together. I can smell it through the screen. Now into the cooking, Mukoda takes it up a notch by introducing the meat into the mix. Once the meat is sizzling and perfectly cooked, he pours in half of the whipped eggs, letting it mingle and dance with the meat. With a deft touch, he lowers the heat, allowing the first layer of egg to solidify. Then, in a masterful move, Mukoda turns off the heat and adds the remaining eggs, sealing the deal. And there you have it. Mukoda's masterpiece is complete. Paired with a generous serving of rice, it's a mouth-watering creation that's so irresistible, Fel and Sui are practically clamoring for seconds before even finishing their firsts. Now, as I'm sitting here practically feeling my mouth drip water, the temptation to whip up the same recipe hits. But wait, where on earth can I find a rockbird? It's a depressing head-scratcher, because let's be honest, the taste just won't hit the same without that rockbird magic. Post the satisfying feast, Mukoda curiously quizzes Fel about whether he knew that our Sui could talk. To everyone's surprise, Sui spills the beans, admitting he enjoyed a friendly chat with good old Uncle Fel. Cue Mukoda's mischievous side kicking in, and he starts teasing Fel about his unexpected uncle's status, a title Fel is clearly not a fan of. This playful banter takes a sharp turn when Fel, not amused by the uncle label, loses his cool and shouts at Sui. The poor slime responds with tears, and let's be real, it's hard to resist the cuteness overload when Sui's got that sweet voice going on. Don't be so vicious, Uncle Fel. Feeling a twinge of guilt for making Sui cry, Fel eventually warms up to the idea of being called Uncle, but there's a catch. Only Sui gets the special privilege of using that title. As the episode comes to a close, we get a little glimpse into what unfolded after the epic showdown with the Kobold King. And surprise, surprise, Fel's reaction to the Uncle Fel incident is somewhat different from his earlier disdain. Sui steps in with an explanation, shedding light on why he'd chosen to address Fel as Uncle. According to Sui, Fel embodies strength, size, and an extra dose of coolness, plus he respects him as an elder, The very qualities that make someone an uncle in Sui's eyes. Fell's actual reaction to Sui's uncle term is a blend of cuteness and mild irritation. In a move that reflects his complex feelings, Fell decides to head out for a hunting session while Mukoda lay comatose from combat. It seems like Fell's got his own way of dealing with the mix of emotions stirred up by Sui's adorable yet mildly infuriating nickname. Hey, you still watching? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and smash that like button like Mukoda smashed those kobolds for your regular fix of fantastic anime content. Seriously, this anime is a delicious treat, and Mukoda's culinary creations have us on the edge of our seats, wondering what he'll whip up next or if he'll join Fell for a hunting expedition in the next episode. No spoilers here, but one thing's for sure. More exciting adventures are waiting, so make sure to stay tuned and watch this video all the way through. Did you know that this series is Mappa's first shot at creating an isekai anime? You know, the folks behind the epic animation in Jujutsu Kaisen and Attack on Titan. It's like a light bulb moment for Mappa, breaking away from their usual heavy and serious anime stuff. The animation and voice acting are top-notch, living up to the Mappa standard, and it's quickly becoming a favorite of mine this season. And judging from the comments, many of you love this isekai cooking adventure too. What's cool about this isekai is that it's not your typical one. No signs of an overpowered main character, no harem drama, and no unnecessary fan service. Instead, it's got this chill vibe with some seriously mouth-watering meals served up. Plus, the main character isn't clueless. He's smart enough to realize he could end up in a tight spot if his talents get exposed. What makes it even better is that the side characters aren't annoying. The whole crew just fits perfectly together, so it's like a breath of fresh air, taking a quick break from those typical anime cliché. Love to see it. My absolute joy with this anime is that all the recipes seem to be legit. I read somewhere that some fans actually tried them out, and guess what? It didn't disappoint. You could practically whip up a quick recipe book while enjoying the characters and the plot unfold. Take my advice though, and always eat while watching, otherwise you'll be suffering and starving before you've reached the halfway mark. Let's dive into some speculations. Do you think Mukoda will gain superpowers and turn into this formidable force? Or do you picture him staying in his lane and becoming a full-fledged super chef? And what about Sui? That little slime has oodles of potential. Could it be the next big thing? Maybe even the next hero? Also, Fell is undeniably strong, but let's face it, he can't be the only powerhouse out there, right? Drop your thoughts below, let's get a conversation going. And a quick reminder, every clip in this video belongs to its rightful creators. Our goal is to have a genuine chat about this anime, to share our deep love for it with you, and to keep everything completely above board. Before we part ways, make sure to hit that like button, and if you made it all the way to the end with me, don't forget to comment a kitty cat. This is your anime sensei signing off.